Imagine eating your dinner completely raw. This isn't just about avoiding a salad. It's a life where every single calorie, from meat to grain, is cold and unseasoned, day in and day out for your entire life. The physical toll of this diet is immense. Raw meat is incredibly tough. Breaking down its connective tissues and muscle fibers requires a level of mechanical chewing force that the modern human jaw simply cannot produce. Early hominid skulls show the specialized equipment this lifestyle required. Look at the massive jaw structure and these enormous molars. These are the physical tools of an animal that spent the majority of its waking hours just chewing. Plants were even more difficult to process. In its raw state, starch exists in a tight crystalline structure that effectively shields it from human digestive enzymes. For our ancestors, a raw potato was a caloric puzzle that the body mostly failed to solve. This meant early humans existed in a state of constant metabolic labor. They were consuming and digesting nearly all day, yet extracting only the bare minimum of energy needed to survive. This creates an evolutionary problem when looking at the modern human brain. It represents only 2% of your body weight, yet its metabolic demand is staggering, consuming 20% of your daily calories. When we place these requirements on a scale against a raw diet, the math breaks. The caloric yield of raw food is simply too low to fuel a brain this expensive. On a raw diet, the body remains in a permanent energy deficit. It is biologically impossible to evolve such a complex organ, while the body is also forced to maintain a massive, energy-hungry jaw. Evolution hit a stalemate. To fund the growth of the brain, our ancestors didn't just need more food, they needed a way to outsource the work of digestion. The breakthrough came from the environment. Early humans lived in regions frequently cleared by sweeping wildfires, and they were opportunistic enough to scavenge the charred remains left in the fire's wake. They discovered that animals and tubers caught in the blaze were different. The meat was softer, the plants were easier to swallow, and the energy they provided was immediate. Heat triggers a physical transformation in food. It denatures the collagen in meat, uncoiling tough muscle fibers until they can be processed with almost no chewing effort. In plants, heat gelatinizes starch. It shatters the crystalline structures that resist enzymes, making the calories inside suddenly and completely accessible to the gut. This chemical change is measurable. Studies show that cooking meat increases its usable energy by 20 to 30%. For starchy plants, the increase is even more dramatic. Cooking allowed humans to bypass the limits of their own anatomy. It provided a massive influx of energy while requiring only a fraction of the digestive work. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham argues that this discovery is visible in the archaeological record. These dark layers of soil indicate ancient fire use that predates many other signs of human intelligence. His cooking hypothesis suggests a radical shift in our understanding of history. We did not start cooking because we became smart. We became smart because we started cooking. The caloric surplus from cooked food allowed the body to redirect its resources. Energy that was previously wasted on massive jaw muscles and long digestive tracts was now available to fuel the expansion of the brain. We see this trade-off in the fossil record. As the human gut and jaw shrank, the cranial cavity rapidly expanded. The body was physically reshaping itself around this new, high-energy fuel source. The very brain you are using to process these words is a direct byproduct of a prehistoric ancestor finding a more efficient way to eat. Moving from opportunistic scavenging to the deliberate control of fire was a massive intellectual hurdle. It required an animal to not only find fire, but to keep it alive. This demanded a complex understanding of fuel, oxygen, and weather. Early humans had to protect their embers from wind and rain, maintaining a constant supply of wood without any formal knowledge of chemistry. The immediate result of this mastery was a surplus of time. Because cooked food is so much more efficient, the hours once spent searching for and chewing raw calories were suddenly liberated. For the first time in evolutionary history, a primate had a massive block of free time that didn't have to be dedicated to the hunt or the grind of digestion. This shift allowed mental energy to be directed elsewhere. When survival is no longer a full-time job, humans have the capacity to refine tools, share complex stories, and strengthen social cooperation. The campfire provided more than just calories. It was a source of warmth and a physical barrier against predators who have an innate fear of flame that cannot be trained away. This protective circle became a dedicated social space. Gathered around the flame, early groups formed the bonds and shared language that define human society. We still carry the biological memory of those nights. Even now, the smell of cooking food triggers a sense of safety and anticipation that is deeply hardwired into our nervous system. Every modern kitchen is a continuation of that original fire, a focal point for survival that provided the energy and the safety needed to make us human.